Hey guys, Timothy here, aka FC Fan 21, with a draft analysis for another league I'm in, and that one's called the Lazymon Draft League. If you've never heard of it before, that could be right, because this is going to be the first ever season of the Lazymon Draft League. We are in this draft league with 10 players in total, with Nova being the founding member of it. And well, this week we already will be playing week 1, because the draft is already over. And right now I'm going to give you a draft analysis for this league season, with a special announcement at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I was the second one to draft, because the draft order was the order we all submitted our admission for the league. And well, the founding member Nova was first, and we had a somewhat of a different kind of draft with this league, because we were forced to go in order of tiers. So we first had to pick our Mega, then we had to pick 2 tier 1 model Pokemon, then we had to pick 2 tier 2 Pokemon, 3 tier 3 Pokemon, 2 tier 4s and 2 tier 5 mons. So you can't just pick and choose whatever Pokemon you want. You have to stay in that order. So Nova and me mostly were the most luckiest in picking our Mega Pokemon, and after tier 3 I was close at the beginning. After tier 3, so tier 4 and tier 5, I was again second after the week pick, so that was nice. But having said all that, I was the second one to pick a Mega, and I went first with Mega Lopunny, but later on I changed my mind and I changed it to Mega Aerodactyl. And Mega Aerodactyl is a very strong physical Pokemon, as you can see, with 135 in base attack and 150 in base speed. It has a tough class ability, so contact moves will do some extra damage. It has a setup option in both agility and in Dragon Dance, and it has a nice coverage of moves to combat most of the Pokemon he will face. Only downside to it is it has 5 weaknesses to its name, but with this speed and attack stat, it's hard to outspeed Aerodactyl and not get one shot by it. So yeah, it's a difficult mon to build for, I think, for my opponents, because again, it's just clicking buttons against you and knocking Pokemon out just for fun. After that I had to wait 8 picks down and 8 picks back up, and after those 8 picks in tier 1 I found that Iron Threads was still available, and Iron Threads is something I've also drafted in the other league, the DDL. And in the DDL I specifically hoped for Great Tusk in combination with Megazord Y, but in this league I really wanted Iron Threads, because it's a good option against some of the weaknesses from Mega Aerodactyl. Mostly the rock and electric resistance are nice. Like I said in the DDL video before, Iron Threads is a great mon for setting up hazards, keeping hazards off the field, and just being a nuisance to knock out to. With a 106 base stat in speed, it can have a fairly fast Volt Switch to get out, and with 120 defense and 90 HP it has some longevity for going forward, and with 112 it can knock Pokemon lower, so or just chip them down for Mega Aerodactyl. After Iron Threats, I had to wait just 2 picks because, again, close to the wheel pick. And after those 2 picks, I had Volcarona in mind because he could. Well, I just like Volcarona, to be honest. I can make a big story up why I wanted Volcarona, because it's good synergy or something. No, I just like Volcarona. I use Volcarona a lot in playthroughs. It's got a massive 135 special attack stat. So far I just drafted a Physical Mons, and with the ability to use Quiver Dance, Fiery Dance, it has some nice ways to set up. It can switch into fighting types and just go for Flame Body activations to cripple opponents. It has a nice grass resistance. And like I said, I've used this one a lot in playthroughs, and I'm really comfortable with using it. So and that's gonna be a theme, I guess, for this league. Just drafting things I feel comfortable with, or I think are fun to use. Like Mega Aerodactyl is not something I'm all that comfortable with because I haven't played with it much, but it seemed nice to use. So yeah, Volcarona, Bug Fire type, is a special typing. I think the resistances it got for especially Fairy and Steel are nice. And yeah, then I had to wait 8 turns for the tier 1 round to finish up, and we went to tier 2. And in tier 2 I went for something very familiar for me, and that is Grimmsnarl. And Grimmsnarl himself may not be all that familiar to you, but Grimmsnarl is familiar to me because in Little Cup I use Little Impidimp. And I really like using Impidimp. Prankster Trick, Prankster Parting Shot, Prankster Screens. It just has so much it has such a good ability to be a support Pokemon for the rest of the team. It has a nice attack stat of 120 with nice stab coverage and stab typings with Dark and Fairy. It can go for Darkest Lariat to ignore defense boosts. It can go for Spirit Break to lower special attack stats from opponents. With 95 it also has a viable special attack ability to use, so, and with Psychic and Dragon being immunity, so yeah. If you watched any of my Burn Tower League battles, you will know I really like using Impidimp, and I think Grimmsnarl will be at least as fun to use for me this season. After that, a second B tier pick was Slowbro, and that was because I had some special bulk with Volcarona, but I also wanted some physical bulk, and Mascot. And I think I'm going to win the league because I've drafted the Mascot Pokemon from the league. Yeah, that's the best reasons I got for drafting Slowbro. No, really, I really wanted the physical wall. I saw Slowbro, I thought it's the league mascot, why not? Well, also because I think there's a second reason, that's because I think Slowbro could be a tier 1 mon, honestly. With Regenerator, with Slack Off, it's got some great viability. With 95 HP and 110 in defense, it has a good physical bulk. With 100 in special attack, it can fire off some big hits. Um, it got to keep Scald for this draft league, so it's just a nice Pokemon to have in my team. And yeah, of course it's a Gen 1 Pokemon, so I'm somewhat familiar with it, but it's not like I've used it a lot in playthroughs for myself. And with a base speed of 30, it was always a bit too slow for my liking, but perhaps if I go against a Strict Room team, I can use Slowbro in that kind of fashion. Yeah, so next up was the third tier Pokemon, and after waiting again 8 turns, I found Hisuian Arcanine to be still available. And Hisuian Arcanine in tier 3 is a steal in my opinion, because Hisuian Arcanine with base 115 attack stat, Rock Head, Flare Blitz, Head Smash, to stab type, hard hitting moves, just incredible. With Rock Head, the damage done, the recoil damage that it normally would take is negated. I can run Intimidate against a physical team. With base 90 speed, it's decently fast, and no stats really are that bad, honestly. With 80 defense and special defense, it can still take somewhat of a hit as long as it's not a water type hit, because water type is a 4 times weakness to it. So I think this is going to be a great mon to use in the right matchup. Yeah, mostly against somewhat slower teams, of course, because if Arcanine can outspeed, he will hit very hard, but if he can't outspeed, he can take a lot of damage from water or ground type moves and just be annihilated. So I think it's a niche Pokemon and a great pickup for tier 3. After the weak pick, I got my next Pokemon, and that's going to be Pawmot. And Pawmot was something I wanted because he's a fast electric type and one of the few Pika clones that is viable to use in any type of draft league. And I hear you say, yeah, but Pachirisu got a world championship. Well, that's because of a niche ability that no one really expected to face against. So no, I think Pawmot is a great Pokemon. With Volt Absorb, it's got a natural immunity for electric type moves. Natural Cure can get rid of a burn status if it is necessary to do that, but Iron Fist will make his punching moves 1 times 1.2 more strong. So punching moves already coming from a base 115 attack stat, with moves like Close Combat and Mach Punch and Thunder Punch all being stab, with having coverage in Fire and Ice Punch. With a 105 base speed is some nice way to start breaking down your opponent's team. With only 3 weaknesses in Ground, Fairy and Psychic, it's got somewhat of a longevity. Has the ability to Volt Turn, so that's also a nice way to gain momentum with it. Yeah, just a great Pokemon to have, and with that I got a fast electric type, I got a slow but bulky water type, and that way I started to pick off some boxes I really wanted to check off when I'm drafting Pokemon. Yeah, and when the third tier 3 pick came around, I didn't really have my eyes on something. I never really, just not really getting sniped. I just didn't saw anything very interesting. And then I thought to myself, well, what if I can just steal something from my opponent and make it my own? And that's will give it away enough, I think. My last third tier pick was Ditto. And if you haven't seen Ditto in Draft League before, it can be a real nuisance for your opponent. With Imposter I can scout for the sets for my opponent. So I bring in Ditto, I can see his moves pool or the picked moves he has, and I can scout ahead and think about what type of stat spreads it will have. But even nicer is when a Pokemon sets up, like with Dragon Dance, Swords Dance, whatever, it gets a stat boost. But when Ditto comes in and transforms into that Pokemon, it will automatically get the stat boost the Pokemon already got. So, for example, my Palmot sets up with Swords Dance and Ditto comes in. Ditto takes that +2 from that Swords Dance with it when copying the opponent. So Ditto is also a great reverse sweeper. So yeah, it had some nice ways of getting in the team. It will probably get some plays, and right now that concluded tier 3 for me. So I had only tier 4 and tier 5 Pokemon left, and to be honest, this is where it got interesting, because every tier 4 and every tier 5 Pokemon got a gets to be a Terra Captain, and what that does is make the lower tier mons a bit more viable, because they can Terra. So I was looking at my team, looking at my weaknesses, and I wanted to have a Ghost type to resist or just to spin block, and I decided on a Grass type as well, and I got the Decidueye. And the Decidueye is maybe not the fastest Pokemon, but it has some nice moves available to it. It can be a mixed attacker with 107 attack and 100 in special attack. Special defense is also quite nice. And as you can see, I went for a Terra Electric with it, and I went with Terra Ghost because I think Ghost typing is very nice, because it only has the weakness of Ghost and Dark typing, and hitting his Ghost type moves a bit harder is also very nice. So yeah, this point of the draft I was just patching up some things I lacked. So with the Decidueye I finalized my Fire Water Grass core, with Slowbro and Hisuian Arcanine already being in that core. So yeah, I got a spin blocker out of it and a Terra Captain, and what I was still lacking in my opinion was a Dragon type, so I went for Druddigon, and Druddigon is a decent Dragon type for tier 4, I would like to say. It's not all that fast, but it's a pure Dragon type. It's got the Rough Skin ability, so it can damage Pokemon that do physical damage to it. It's got base 120 attack stats, so it can hit very hard. Combining that with Sheer Force, and it can hit even harder when it's using moves that has secondary effects. And Mold Breaker could be situational good. So I see I forgot to add the Terra type for Druddigon, but besides his Dragon typing, I gave it the Steel typing, so Ice, Dragon and Fairy types would hit not very effective all of the sudden. So yeah, with that we left tier 4, went to tier 5, and for tier 5 I wanted another rapid spinner because hazards are just very annoying, and right now I only had the iron threads able to rapid spin unless Ditto transforms into something that can rapid spin, but that's just hoping and praying for the best. So in tier 5 I went for the ice type Cryogonal. Oh, there it is. I went for the ice type Cryogonal, and Cryogonal has it's just mind-blowing to me how I never saw the potential of Cryogonal. With base 135 special defense, 95 special attack, 105 speed, it can outspeed a lot, it can tank special hits fairly good. Again, it's a rapid spin user, can set screens if it wants to. And with the levitate ability I have another ground immunity, which I was a bit of lacking. I was lacking a bit of ground counters besides the Mega Aerodactyl. Gave it Terra Water. Why? Because I think it's a nice combination with the ice type. It's takes the fire type moves, it deals super effective damage against the rock type moves. Steel was of course already taken by the Druddigun, and it's a good defensive typing again. So, and last but not least, I wanted a poison type for my final pick. First I had a Mon in mind, but he got sniped at the beginning of the last round, if I'm correct. Oh no, yeah, well, end of the first tier 5 round, or beginning, it's at the wheel pick, Hunter was taken, so I had to shift my attention to something else, and I got Muk. And Muk, with a base 105 HP and base 100 SPDEF, is a specially defensive Pokemon that's hard to get rid of, with just 2 weaknesses in Ground and Psychic. With Sticky Hold it is ensured to never lose its item. With Poison Touch I can have a 30% chance to make my opponent poisoned when I use a contact move. And yeah, not much to say about it. It's as a grounded poison type, I can make sure the hazards, the Toxic Spikes hazards, are absorbed by him. I made him Terra Flying because honestly I didn't know any better Terra typing for him, so I just went with Flying. Steel could have been good because of the Psychic type, but ground, it wouldn't resist ground, so yeah, I was just clueless about what to do with Muk for at least looking at Terra typings. So well, that's our team. I'm really looking forward to this league because I think I drafted a great team. Like I said, some familiar faces with Iron Threads, with Grimmsnarl, with Cryogonal, and some unfamiliar faces like Hisuian Arcanine with Pawmot and Mega Aerodactyl. So yeah, I think this is going to be a good season. Maybe I can be the first ever champion of the LazyMon Draft League. We're gonna see. But with that said, up the Vivillons. Oh wait, I did promise you an announcement, didn't I? Well, let's do that. Like I said in the previous draft analysis, I was applying to 2 other leagues, and I can say proudly I've been accepted into the Sunyshore Battle Federation. It's a somewhat of an older league right now. They have, and I have to count correctly, at least 5 different leagues. And I've been accepted into the, on quotation, normal draft league with just a regular tier system and all the Pokemon available in a regular draft. They also have VGCs leagues, they have monotype leagues, they have low tier leagues. Just a fun place to be at the moment, I thought. And the same goes for the UPL. I've been accepted into the UPL. I've been very active on the Discord server there, so if you've seen me, hi. I had a lot of fun there so far, and this Saturday I got the notification that I was also accepted into the UPL. Again, into the National Dex Draft League, and yeah, I'm going to battle in both of these competitions, and I'm going to be in 5 different draft leagues at the same time, or at least they're gonna cross over partially. This is going to be a well, it's going to be a big commitment from me, but right now I'm willing to make that commitment. I'm not sure if I can make that commitment further in the future, but right now I think 1, I can do it, and 2, I want to do it. It's going to be great experience for me, and even if I fail in all the leagues, the only thing I just want to show you is this awesome banner they made, the UPL made for me for joining. So have a look at this. How awesome is that? At least I think so. So with that said, 5 draft leagues, really looking forward to it. Burn Tower League is running towards playoffs. Some leagues will have their first week, mostly the Lazy Months and the DDL. So you can expect the coming week to get 3 draft league videos from me, and somewhere in the future you will have a draft analysis from both the UPL and SBF. So with all that said, up the Vivillons, and hopefully see you next time.